Hey everyone, welcome to episode 6 of our Soccer Performance Podcast. So this is kind of like a mini series building off the last couple episodes. So if you haven't seen those, check those out. We've been going over, how athletes should train at home by themselves. We've covered the general outline, we've covered the physical training last week, and now we're going to dive in deeper on the technical training. So Juan, based on our schedule last week, how would you kind of structure the self-technical training, assuming players by themselves, or maybe they have a couple friends?
Yeah, so just to recap the week, right? We talked about team training being on Tuesday and Thursday, hypothetical scenario where you would play on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of gives you Monday, Wednesday, Friday, where those are days that you're training on your own. So if I were to break down that week, right, or if I were to recommend a player to break down that week, I would probably get lighter as the week goes on. So if we were starting the week off Monday, right? That's a good day to get a lot of that technical work done. Tuesday is a day if I have team training, I have something going on, I'm either taking that completely off from the ball, or maybe I'll do some juggling or some personal skill training in my backyard, but nothing very strenuous. Wednesday is another opportunity to get a heavy workout on the ball, right? You're off the team. Thursday, again, team setting, so similar to Tuesday. Friday, you're getting too close to the game, so now you're getting very, very technical on that day, and then Saturday would be the game day. So if I were to zoom in on, let's say, for example, that Monday, that would be the day where I'm able to really push maybe a 1-hour session where my goal is to improve my technique, but I might add a little bit of conditioning to that exercise, right? Tuesday, the difference being team training now, I don't want to overload my Monday either. I want to make sure that the Tuesday is team focused, but maybe I'll add 15, 20 minutes of juggling, something like that, coming home from school or maybe a little bit prior to.
Cool. So let's go in deeper in that Monday. So what's that Monday looking like? What are they focusing on?
Yeah, so Monday, anytime I'm doing individual training, I always go to what I believe in, which is the wall, right? The wall, if you don't have a teammate to pass the ball to you, it serves the purpose of being able to consistently get that pass back. So if Monday, for example, I have the opportunity to go to a school where there's a wall, I may structure a workout where I'm doing a specific skill, which is, let's say, receiving a pass. Maybe I'll play the wall, receive a pass, I'll do that action for 30 seconds. So let's say I'm an athlete that I want to incorporate a little bit more aerobic day that day, right? So I'm doing the same exercise, and after 30 seconds, I'll make a shuttle run, maybe 20 yards, come back. And the goal of that being, I think there's players that get into a rhythm and they understand how to make a pass, how to receive it, but now can I do it with the demand of a game?
So like that. So we can manipulate that in a way that we get an aerobic training stimulus, but with the ball, right? Like you said, so kind of 30 seconds with some sort of skill. They go out, they run, come back, and then they continue with the skills. You do that for about 4 or 5 minutes, then take a set break of 2 minutes, and 3-4 sets, now that looks like kind of like aerobic session, but like now we have the ball involved, and so and I really like that. So if we manipulate those work to rest ratios, we can get much more out of our session than just kicking the ball at the wall.
Exactly, and I think it's important to get the most bang for your buck. So you don't want to spend an hour, for instance, doing we'll call it ball mastery or ball manipulation work, and not get something else out of it, right? I think at the end of the day, it's important to mimic the demands of a game. And the game is not a pass followed by some slow action, right? Usually it's a pass, fast action. But while you're getting your fitness level, your technical level up, like you said, you can manipulate the what you're doing essentially off the ball. I could easily be an introductory level player and just say 30 seconds on. When I'm resting, it's 30 seconds of complete nothing. Or maybe it's 30 seconds of juggling, right? If I'm a more experienced player and I'm trying to get something more, I'll do 30 seconds like you said, and maybe now I'll increase my shuttle distance. Obviously, the most being the distance of a field. So can I make a pass and then mimic what it would be like to run 15 to, let's say, 40 yards? Change between those varieties. And now can you come back and execute the skill with some fatigue, right?
Cool, I like that. So Monday, that's some solid training there.
Yeah.
Coming in Wednesday, so they had some gym, they had team training the day before. Wednesday looking like they have a full day they could focus on developing something.
Yeah, I think it ends up being about reading yourself as a player, if you feel like you're accumulating a lot from the Monday and the Tuesday, Wednesday could be a light day. If you feel like the Tuesday session was light, maybe Wednesday you can repeat that Monday workout. So I think it's obviously based on individual discretion, but for the sake of the conversation, let's say your volume is high from the previous 2 days. Wednesday could be a game or a day where you go pick up a scrimmage, call your buddies to pick up on the street.
How valuable would that be? Playing pickup, playing some drop in, just with friends, some small-sided games. How valuable would that be?
I think, and at the end of the day, it takes off the stress of like training. There's a certain amount of stress in training, and you're focusing on a specific skill. When you get into these games that are quote unquote just for fun, you can kind of take the stress off. But I encourage my players, like if you're able to go pick up a pickup game and use that game to train the things that you were gonna do on the wall, even better, right? The more, the closest the drill or the exercise or the practice it is to a game, the more beneficial.
Going back to when we played, we tried to play pickup as much as possible throughout the week. We didn't really have any structure to our training, but at least we were playing. But now, if we have some of that free play, but we structure it in a way to optimize the results. I think the people at home can have a really good program.
Exactly.
So Monday, Wednesday looking good.
Yeah.
Friday, day before the game.
Right.
What should the athlete be focusing on?
Yeah, so obviously Thursday you had your team session. Friday, matches on Saturday. I think Friday, for example, on a individual aspect, if you can get out to a field. So now you did your the beginning of the week was done with the wall, maybe with a teammate. If you can get out on the Friday and now mimic game-specific actions, right? I think that sets you up very nicely for the Saturday game. If I can go to the field and if I'm a winger, let's say I'm able to call up a teammate or somebody that can serve me balls, maybe I put myself in the specific part of the field where most of my actions are going to take place. Maybe I receive some balls wide, dribble in, finish, right? Maybe if I'm a center mid, maybe I'm in the middle of the field and I'm asking my teammate to play me in different positions. I'm spraying passes, I'm distributing balls, right? And you can break every position down like that. I think the Friday is really structured to fine-tune things. You're not there trying to burn yourself out, put yourself in any unnecessary fatigue, where now Saturday you're at a disadvantage, right?
Yeah, so contrasting to that Monday, the Monday we're looking at more aerobic, longer work durations, more aerobic stimulus. Now on Friday, the volume's low, we're short, we're sharp, explosive actions, making sure we're very, everything's done with high quality and high purpose, really optimizing each rep, but keeping the volume low. So we're looking for quality over quantity on this day, it sounds like,
And now keep in mind, guys, that we're going to link like the week, right? So that you can follow it with more detail. We'll link it to the video. But the volume of work should decrease by the end of the week, right? The closer you're getting to that competition day, it's inevitable. High volume, high fatigue, right? Regardless of what intensity you're doing things at, the more work you're going to do, the more fatigue you accumulate.
Yeah, so now we're tapering for that game.
Right.
Saturday's game, right? We're assuming Sunday was off, and then on Monday we kind of start building again, right?
Yeah.
So,
and I think it's nice to be able to hit, especially if in our example the Sunday is off. If you've taken that Sunday off, Monday is a nice day to hit hard, right? That you can accumulate a lot of things. So you can get your technical session, you can get your aerobic session. If you're planning on going for a run, why not get your run this way, right? Structure it in a way where it's difficult to go out, in your neighborhood and have a ball at your feet. But if you can go to the park or anywhere, get your technical work and then incorporate those shuttles, which will add a detailed description of how to do that to the video. I think that's a good compensation for having those days off.
And that, done repeatedly week after week. Like, not only is the player should see improvements in their technical ability, they should see improvements in fitness. And imagine how much more ahead an athlete would get in 3 months versus the athlete who did no individual work. They go to their team practice twice a week. Maybe they have a third one a week, but they don't do anything. They haven't done any physical work. They haven't done any technical work with the ball. So this, in my opinion, athletes need to take that initiative, and they can get much more ahead of their competition if they put in that extra work.
Yeah, and like you said, it's about just seeing progress in a way that's tangible, right? So let's say week 1 of your season, you went out on the Monday, you do 20 minutes. You break the 20 minutes down into sets of 1 minute, right? 30 seconds off. So you're getting anywhere from, let's say, 5 sets to 10 sets. Week 2, if you were the guy getting 5 sets, maybe you're aiming for 6 sets, right? Mm-hmm. And you're continuously getting better, because I believe that a lot of the technical deficiencies come from a lack of fitness, right? Mm-hmm. You may be able to hit all your passes, complete your dribbles in the first 20 minutes of the game. Mm-hmm. And then you see players fall.
And how many times have you seen like just poor decision making, lazy passes,
all from fatigue.
Lazy touches, bad touches on the ball, just from the game due to lack of fitness. So I think players taking this seriously, will really bring them to another level.
And I think it's important to understand that you have to feel that. Like, we use a scale, how difficult is the exercise, right? And I can ask you and you tell me, from 1 to 10 being 10 game-like, 1 being, very passive. So you have to be very honest with.
Cool. So that ties us into game week. Mm-hmm. Assuming they played a full game or a lot of minutes, and Sunday they're kind of beat up, probably they're going to have that day off. Now, if they played limited minutes, in my opinion, that Sunday can be much more productive, right? What are you thinking?
So Saturday they played the guys that you're referring to, the
guys with low minutes.
Yeah. I mean, it's a matter of, if I played a half and I feel like I need the compensation work, or I need more, I think that I would tell players, if you played, let's say, just to get a good idea, 25% of the match, right, or more, you can maybe afford to take a rest day. Maybe you could argue that 50% or more, or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's not to say that this is the exact measurement, but if you feel like Sunday's a good day to take advantage of some extra work. Mm-hmm. Now, if you played full game on Saturday and you're that overachiever and you still want to put in, a Sunday session,
assuming you have the fitness and you can maintain
exactly.
that.
That's where I was going. It's important to rest,
because now you're coming
right?
in on Monday, right? So you want to come in Monday. The Monday, I'm really big on starting the week off high quality, and if that Sunday takes away from that, then probably keep that Sunday low. However, in my opinion, if you had low minutes, you kind of had, that Saturday was light, the Friday was kind of light. Sunday, you should probably do some training, and then, that won't really affect your Monday.
And if you're, for example, if the whole week is designed for you to peak on a certain day, so the whole week is designed for you to peak on Saturday. If your teammates, right, the ones that played a lot, peaked and consistently peak and you don't, then you fall behind. So you don't really have a choice, right? Like, if you didn't play, or you played very minimal minutes, then it's your responsibility to do more work, because over time, if the starting group or the guys that play the most are constantly getting that type of stimulus that realistically only comes in a game, then you're just falling behind, right?
Yeah, exactly, in my opinion, right? So some athletes might be like, okay, they didn't play much, game's done. Okay, game's done, we'll just continue again next week. In my opinion, right, you have to have that awareness, okay, I didn't play much, perhaps there's a certain deficit or weakness in your game that, you come in the next day, Sunday, and you're putting in the work. So that you earn those minutes. I think that Sunday really needs to be that for those players. And ideally, as close to the match as possible. So, maybe they can find a drop-in or a pickup game on Sunday. I don't know if that's a thing. If not, working on one of their weaknesses, potentially doing, the Friday session in more detail, perhaps some dribbling or passing like on the Monday or the Wednesday. I don't know, what do you think?
And I feel like this is why I think it's important for players to be enrolled in multiple things, right? If you're just in club soccer and the club doesn't have something set up for you, then what do you do? But if you have, okay, now I do extra training on that Sunday. And for example, here we have a lot of players that day off from their team commitments is done to improve themselves. At the end of the day, it's not like it's a day dedicated to training. It's an hour, right? Like it's 1 hour of your day, an hour and a half at most, that you're there looking to fit in the things that you probably don't have space in the week, right? So I like, for example, I like the way that the culture is going here, where now there's like little tournaments, little Sunday leagues, and not just for recreation, right? Like you see it tournament here, tournament there. You don't have to enter it as a club. So try to join these things, right? Try to be involved in as many things. And the closest thing you can do to a game, the better, right? If you can play multiple games a week at a young age, in my opinion, even better, right?
So having that competition, having that intense match play, assuming match intensity is the 10, we want to kind of replicate that intensity as much as possible.
Of course, and that's one skill that I don't think many players have. Like, can you actually analyze the demand of a game and then have the awareness in training to say, with relation to that game, how close am I right now in terms of how I feel, fatigue-wise, endurance-wise, whatever, right? How close am I? Because everybody can argue. There's no way that when you're in game, you're competing versus other people, you're not thinking about anything. When you're in training, you're in line, your buddies are there, and physically you spent an hour, right? But actual training time was probably very low. So I think only the players that completely give everything throughout the week can afford that Sunday off.
Absolutely,
if not,
right?
I would say it's in your best interest to probably use it.
I would agree. So let's recap with that. So they had their week, it went like this. Monday, they did a pickup, or they did that kind of wall drill with the shuttle run, kind of to improve their fitness and also their technical work. They had Tuesday and Thursday gym/team training sessions. Wednesday was also similar to the Monday. It was the opposite. So if they did pickup Monday, Wednesday was that technical training, or vice versa. Friday, they did that individual positional specific work, whether that was crossing and shooting or whatever on the pitch. Saturday, they played hard. At the end of that week, I would agree with that. You know, you would have that Sunday off, and then you go again. And you accumulate weeks, compound that gain of skill, that gain of fitness, and, you know, week to week, you know, your game should be, you know, achieving higher levels, assuming you're putting the work in. So
and like something I was just thinking about is like, it's not like a recommendation. Somebody is doing this. Like not someone, a lot of people are doing this, and if some variation of this, right? Like it doesn't have to be structured. Some guys are lucky enough that their entire club structures everything for them.
Exactly, right? So we got to think, right? So if you go to a youth academy, you know, around the world, a professional youth academy, they're training pretty much every day. They have a 1 day off during the week. They have the match on the weekend, but they have structured training. They have physical performance coaches doing a small dose of some sort of physical training every day throughout the week, and then they have their technical training with the coach. Right here, we're talking about youth soccer in Canada. What are you doing to close that gap if you want to play at a higher level?
Of course.
And if you think around the world, you know, in other countries in South America and Europe, kids are playing, you know, they're playing pickup all week. They're playing in other games. They're playing for their school. They're just putting way more minutes with the ball in. So,
and it's I don't know if like there are things that you can control, right? Like maybe in Europe or in South America, like the culture, weather, whatever, you know, enables that more than here. But it's just being realistic and being self-aware and understanding. Like, I think that's such a mistake when it's like, I play competitive soccer, and they do something like 2-3 times a week, and consider that competitive, right? Like it's understanding that, first of all, if it's a bother to put in work every day of the week, then you probably don't really enjoy it as much as you think you do. If it's a hassle to commit your entire interest into that, it's probably not going to work out. That's why I'm very, you know, I'm like surprised when I hear like, I play hockey, soccer, and amazing. Wow, like I can't believe you have enough time to approach these things. And if eventually you have to get to complete focus. So your week, if you want to be a professional soccer player, your week will eventually look like this. And if you get to that week looking like that earlier than later, then you're never really caught off guard. And it's about adapting, like Mario was saying. It's not like, okay, I'm doing this for July. This becomes a way of life. This becomes what you do. And the way that this gets more difficult is by tailoring and moving things around within this structure. But this structure stays all the time. If you're lucky enough to pay for a personal trainer. So of course, training is going to be accelerated when you're under good guidance. But at the very least, you know, we want to provide a structure where if you can't have access to a trainer, if you don't have that, then hey, you're consuming content on social media already. Here's a good way to structure your own personal week, right?
Be a little more mindful of what content you are consuming. You know, we like to think that we're bringing you guys good value, and take in this schedule and apply it to the best you can, and we think you'll find a lot of value with that. So
yeah, I think that's most important. If you find somebody that you trust and you start to find, first of all, actual success in what you're following them, then I recommend that, right? If I'm a young player and I'm looking at Mario's page and I like the consistency and I like what he's doing, and then on top of that, from the things that he's posting for free or the things that I'm posting for free, I see benefit, then have some consistency there, right? Don't go around jumping from place to place, because at the end of the day, I'm a big believer if you just stick to something and you attack it with that same energy day in and day out, the progress is there.
All right, cool. So we hope you guys found value in this. Happy training. We got more content coming this way.
Thanks, guys.